are live on ABC's KMET 1490 AM.com, your number one spot right here for news and talk on the West Coast. I thank everyone for tuning in this morning. On the telephone line, I welcome to the program the son of the legendary Mickey Mantle. We welcome in David Mantle, who joins us. David, what an honor for me. Thanks for being here.
Sir, it's my honor, and I appreciate you asking me.
Oh, this is unbelievable for me to have a Mantle associated, on my show. It's really, truly an honor. Thanks so much.
Well, I tell you what, it's kind of a sad note. I'm glad you got me or Danny. It's just us now to keep Dad's memory out there and tell the stories that we remember.
Absolutely. So, David, I want to begin. Your senior year in high school, 1974, you attended an oldtimers game, Rangers Stadium, I believe. Your dad, Mickey Mantle, was introduced, and the roar of the crowd made you realize for the first time just how big of a deal Mickey Mantle was, right? Talk about that day.
Oh, yes. God, on that day, I can't believe it. I was 18, of course, it's summertime, so I'd graduated from high school. And, me and my date, of course, we're standing up, too, with all the fans. And, you've seen it and how fans, when they adore one of their players, man, they show it. And what was strange and just so great and fantastic about this, it was an old-timers game, but it was in Texas, not New York. And the crowd, I mean, it just went absolutely wild. I mean, just the noise with cheers, the clapping, everybody stood up, nobody sat down. And I thought to myself, it took that moment right then, here I was, 18, graduated. Not until then did I really find out what Dad meant to his fans. I mean, that right there showed me there was more than just love and stuff. It was, admiration, everything.
And, David, there were other Yankee greats that day, like Casey Stengel, and I believe Di Maggio was there, but no one got the ovation like the Mick, right?
No, and, nothing against Joe Di, but he would get jealous, because, it just couldn't happen. Maybe it's because Dad, a lot of times back then, Dad hadn't been retired too long, and Joe Di, retired like, I think, 52 or something like that. So Dad was still fresh in their memories. And, besides everybody just loving him, Dad would always get a little bit of a extra, or say, applause or standing ovation. And, Joe was the kind that, would get a little upset. So I think that might have been one of the games. I know that after that, and maybe one other one, where Dad and Joe Di were introduced separately, Dad seemed to, another time, Dad got a longer standing ovation and cheers and all that stuff. So it had to become, say, like if it was, I guess, just in Joe Di's contract or whatever, if they do one for something like that, or it was just known that if Mick's there, they are introduced together.
And, David, I have a question on Joe Di, but before that, another big day was your dad's retirement day, right? Where he didn't get choked up. Mantle didn't get choked up a lot, but there he did on his retirement day, right?
Oh, yeah. I think it was when he started, when he was doing his little speech saying his thank you after they'd done the ceremony and all that stuff. It was Dad's turn to, talk to the fans. And he used Lou Gehrig's speech as an example. He was saying that, how could a man come out here and stand and, talk to fans knowing he was going to die? And Dad said that took so much courage.
And, we all know what a larger-than-life figure Mickey Mantle was. David, growing up, let's say your teen years, during the off-season, when your dad was around, was it difficult going out for a meal with the family alone?
It depended. To tell you the truth, I know at least with me and my brother sometimes, and I bet Mom really prayed for it, that when we went out, it wouldn't be too bad. But, it's going to happen. But, we just didn't want Dad to, be in a mood or whatever and, not sign something or whatever. And, that's one reason why Dad had those special little cards. They're like, what about 3x5s or whatever it was or something, had a picture of him and then stats on the back. He would sign that and pass those out to people because, when you think about it, at first, being in a restaurant or something like that, he'd end up signing, like a cocktail napkin. And, when you think Dad was a perfectionist, and he wanted, that's one reason why you could read his signature. He didn't just scribble. Of course, a lot of the old guys back then didn't scribble. You could see their names. But he wanted it to be clear. And, like on a napkin, if it's with a Sharpie, it would run, kind of soak into it. And he just wanted a clean, clear, exact signature of his name. But it was just funny. It's just we just hoped that, Dad would be in a good mood. And I remember one time a gentleman came over, and we were getting ready to leave, and so was he. And we were up in front getting ready to walk out, and a gentleman came over and asked for an autograph, and Dad was just kind of go, man, not now or something like that. And then the guy kind of started walking. Of course, Dad waited till he got halfway down the block, and he gave me one of those cards. He goes, man, go give this to that guy. So I had to run after him. he goes, Dadgummit, he'd get mad at himself for not doing it. He'd
Really?
say no and then go, man, no. He goes, come here. He'd do that. But at dinner tables, he'd always go, too, get back to that real quick. He goes, man, I've been watching you. He goes, it's not doing the autograph. He goes, but why do you wait till I get my meal?
Oh,
That's
wow.
what he just didn't. Once the meal got there, he wanted privacy so, he could eat, a hot meal.
Right. Are you since we're on the topic of the autograph, are you surprised how much his rookie card sold for? Millions and millions of dollars.
Oh, I had a chance on my second wife. We went down and we were living in Tampa, St. Pete area. And, that's when, right when the baseball card shows were starting to take off and all that junk. I think it was like 89, that we were there. And I got to know this guy, and, he was a really nice guy, and, we got along good. He had one of Dad's rookie cards. And back then, they weren't graded. So I have no idea what it was, but I looked at it, and I can remember it looked pretty good with me, just looking at the borders and, no wrinkles, no, blah, blah, blah on it or something. And he says, man, because we're friends and, he's your dad, man, I'll let you have this for $5,000.
Wow.
And I just go, oh, my God. I looked at my wife, Marla, and I go, God. But, we were just starting out, and I was down there working for a company, and I didn't have any money saved up. In fact, it's just, with car payments, this and that, it just wasn't feasible. So I'm thinking to myself, and I'm talking to Marla, and I'm just going, God, should I call Dad and please, Dad, loan me $5,000. We can get a rookie card in the family. We can have one now, finally. And because we've never owned one. We've never had one. If we did, it went in our bike spokes. Because I can remember the last one of those I did. I go, here, Yogi, let's go riding. And I put Yogi in my front spoke, and we took off. But, God, that was our chance to have a rookie. And I just keep thinking back about it. Now, the way I remember, I'm not real good at memory, but looking at it, and when they started grading, I always say, I told my look, I said, I guarantee you it was at least a 7.
Wow. I mean,
and
as you know, that rookie card
coming
sold
from the Mantle family.
Yeah, as you know, his rookie card sold for like $12.6 million.
Yeah. It's just one thing. I bet Dad, he never understood this. he was very damn proud that, his fans would stand in those lines because, he only did 800 signatures at the shows he would do. Usually he did both days, but they would stand in line, and he just goes, I feel bad charging these guys what the promoter's charging, because Dad got his fee, and then I guess the promoter wanted to get some too. But, God, when Dad's signature, I think it got up to 100 back then, but I do remember 80. And he's just going, he really felt bad. And I'll kind of quit talking about that. But there was another thing, because we would take turns traveling with Dad to help him with the card shows. We would kind of stand by him and, just kind of watch people. Or one of us would sit down, and as he did an autograph, we scratched off a number. We had a copy of 1 through 800, and so we would just scratch them off. Just no offense to some of the promoters, but we just want to make sure they didn't sneak in another amount. But it was just, oh Lord, it was fun.
We're talking with David Mantle, the son of the legendary Mickey Mantle. David, as you got older, talking with your dad, a few things that I wanted to ask you. First, did he ever say or mention anything about Joe Di Maggio as far as having resentment toward him, taking over the center field position as Joe D was heading out?
Dad never really talked about anybody, but with us, being his family, say if we were, going somewhere and maybe Joe D was going to be there, he would just kind of talk about that, Joe was a quiet man, and he was different. I mean, he got to marry Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
And, but Joe D, I never really thought, so I don't know how Joe D was with his fans, like signing, autographs and stuff, but Dad said he was kind of quiet though, but Dad said what he missed about it when Dad came in as a rookie, he really kind of thought that Joe D, and that's more or less what they were training Dad to take over Joe D for when he retired, that, he might have given him some tips or have breakfast, have lunch, just, BS about the game and stuff. And Joe was just secluded and, or I don't know, this is just what other people have said, because Dad never talked bad about any other teammates, Joe D, but the rest of them, there's never any animosity. But, I think in a way, Dad wished that Joe D had been a little more up front, or I guess up front, whatever you call it, like sitting next to him and talking to him, or, on the bench in the dugout, during the game, get little tips here and there, about maybe a pitcher he was going to see. But Joe D was not that type, and I hate to say it, but I feel that, Joe D was retiring and his career was over, but I think he was, I don't know, what is it, already seeing what kind of fans and how they adored him and how they showed it and stuff, that hurt Joe's ego, I think. And so that's one reason, like I said, he wanted to be introduced with Dad. So that way you couldn't tell if it was just for Dad, but it was for both of them.
Now, I remember reading a book a few years ago. It was called Dinner with Di Maggio. And there was mention in that book something like Di Maggio could never get over his grudge against Mickey Mantle.
Maybe, you know what? I could see that. And I guess there really was a grudge. And, Dad was always polite, never said, at least I never heard him say anything bad about Joe D. He would just say that, we weren't close. Because when a new rookie would come in, and Dad shoot, man, the first day, that night, he would take the rookies out to dinner, and, man, they'd sit and hang around and, get to know. He made everybody feel welcomed. And Joe D didn't do that. And I guess Joe had that personality where, I hate to say it, but, he was jealous of Dad, I guess, of the attention he got.
Yeah, I agree with you. And how about like some of the other great ball players that played during the era, with your dad, like Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Roberto Clemente? Did your dad ever mention any of those greats to you?
Oh, I don't know if any of the fans listening today, though, but maybe they can Google it or look it up or whatever. But there was an old show that came on. It was called Home Run Derby. And that's
Yes.
where, they'd have two batters. And sometimes I guess it was like a National League against the American League. But Dad and Willie, and I think he did one with Hank Aaron too, they would all like have, the home run battle against each other. And it kind of went back and forth. One day Willie would win, next time or something, Dad would win. But they sit there and did it. I wish people could Google this too. Look up the Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, Blue Bonnet, butter commercial. They Dad said it took like all day for them to record the commercial, and usually Dad and Willie, they were pretty good. I mean, Dad was just a natural. I mean, sometimes if he was doing something, and they kept the first take of it. But they were sitting there, and of course they had the corn on the cob in front of them, and the butter there, the blue bonnet, and then they had like bonnets on Dad and Willie, and they kept every time they looked at each other, they just burst out laughing. Oh, that's what it's hard for them. They just look at it. He goes, "Man, look at us. We're wearing bonnets."
And David, one of the many traits that's remarkable about Mickey Mantle was his switch hitting ability, the power from both sides. I mean, he had those big Popeye arms. How, is that a God-given ability? I mean, how was he able to generate so much power from the left and right side? What was his workout regimen?
Well, they didn't really do weights back then, but what Dad, I guess, was blessed with this job. It was hard as heck and dangerous in a way, but he worked with his father down in the lead zinc mines there by Commerce, Oklahoma. And his job was the sledgehammer guy and to bust rocks. So just think of swinging that sledgehammer all day long, breaking rocks. That's going to build your back up, those forearms, your wrists. That, at least with me, man, when I hit a baseball, I use a lot of my wrists, too, to get that snap out there. But, he had that going for him. So that's why he was already kind of built, but he never really did weights. It was things like that. And then, of course, then a lot of folks probably don't know, it's not like now, the off seasons, Dad would go back to the mines. Hank Bauer had another job. Moose had whatever. John Blanchard did this at a car dealership. I can't remember what Elson would do, but God, I mean, everybody, they had a sideshow to go home to and start doing again. But that's why back then, winning the World Series wasn't just to say you did it. It was because you got that bonus.
Unbelievable. So now, when you were a kid, your first impression of New York City?
Oh, I just loved it. And I don't know if I've already told you, but, because of baseball, I grew up singing the national anthem. That's how I look at it. And I said, I finally figured out, I said, God, just being a kid and 18 years of Dad playing and spring training games, when we were there, you stand for the national anthem. And I did that. And I think that's why even in the schools, when you could still do it back in those days too, that, I felt so honored and blessed that I could, sing the national anthem. And it just got to where, like in New York, there you've got the Statue of Liberty that, you can go see that. And that, revokes, or not revokes, but, just made me think of, some of the immigrants that have come in and end up fighting in the Army and dying for seeing just the Statue of Liberty.
Man, and what was your impression of, the early Yankee Stadium?
Oh, I loved it. Me and Mickey, I wish Mickey was still alive because, God, he was pretty good about remembering everything, and you could talk to him. But It was after Dad passed away, and it was at the old Yankee Stadium. And it was like right after Mr. Steinbrenner did that first remodel. I think that was around 75 or something, I think maybe.
Right, 70s.
But me and Mick were there, Junior, for something, and I forgot who was we were walking with. Might have just been somebody with the Yankee front office. But we're walking through these halls and stuff. Back in those days, it was fun. If the players brought the kids to the stadium too for the game or whatever, us kids, we just ran around terrorizing everybody and hung out. Of course, we get in trouble after the game. Our dads would let us know, but Mickey'd go, David, do you remember these halls? And I'm just looking at, they weren't real wide either. And, you see like the whatever different type of pipes that are up on the walls and the ceiling. He goes, man, all this was, just so neat. Mickey, he was just reminiscing about just what kind of, I guess, pride or whatever he felt walking through underneath the Yankee Stadium, to finally get to the locker room. But he loved, and just remembering just walking through the stadium and underneath it, and a lot of history there. It's like he's no telling who's walked in front of us.
And David, I watched the movie 61. That was a movie in which you appeared in. I remember in that movie, I guess Mantle and Maris, they shared a room together in the beginning. Was that in Jersey? Yeah,
this is the funniest year. Dad, and they lived with Bob Serb also. And they all three lived. And man, Roger and Dad never had an argument. And they weren't against each other, but they loved that stuff because Dad, either one of them, whoever got the paper first, and the other one would be a bowl of cereal or something before they went to, look, Mick, we're fighting again. And Dad would come in and went, oh, look what we've done now, Rod. We hate each other and this and that. And I would tell people, I said, did they not know you all were living together? I mean, but for someone living together and getting along and hanging out and stuff, they were in a fight every day.
But they really got along together, right?
Oh, yes. I mean, and this is sad, too. It's like in 1985, I believe, when Roger passed away. I did a lot of restaurant business, and the restaurant I was at, I was in the bar area, and, of course, at that time in the 80s, that's when bars were putting TVs in them, so, people could watch games and stuff. And it was before we even opened, and it came up, they were interviewing like Whitey and a bunch of other Yankees because they happened to be at the first Yankee fantasy camp that was done. And, they had Dad and all of them there. So they were kind of taking their turn, interview them and everything. And Whitey just finished or something. And then Dad walked in to start saying, his words about Roger. Dad got so upset he had to walk off. He couldn't talk, so he started crying.
So now you also had some I have a few minutes left. You've also had an acting career. Talk about some of your movies.
I don't know. I kind of started late, but I wish I would have done it earlier. But I happened to meet a few people here in Dallas that handled extras and all that kind of stuff in movies, and they could get me little small parts. But most of the ones I did, they ended up cutting out of the movie. But it was still fun just being there and hanging out with people. I never, like Dad said, never bug a star or celebrity. But then they were like, and if they're on the series or whatever, which I kind of did stuff on, stand-ins and blah blah blah. But if you go to that IMDb, you'll get to see some of my stuff. But I didn't really do too much. Oh shoot, I would just kind of do little extra stuff, and I just had fun being out there, and it kind of gave me something to do. And I kind of started thinking, people want to interview me. let me take a chance at this. I had shots made and this and that. And, of course, I got to know Debbie real good, who did casting and all that kind of stuff. And, God, she was talking about me. I was in better shape then. And she was talking about, I think Gladiator had come out, or maybe it was, whatever kind of movie it was. She was talking about there was going to be some kind of movie like that. And, just with my physique, I wasn't real muscular and stuff, but I was kind of big just for my size and everything. She goes, man, you can play in that and be one of these guys. But the biggest thing I ever did was I got to play like a governor of some state, and I had like 2 words, and I can't even remember the words now. And it's funny, I got there like in the morning. The scene I was in was finally shot like at 12 midnight. I'm going, and stuff like that. I kind of go, you know what? This really ain't worth it unless you're making a few million.
Yeah, and I have about 30 seconds left, David. So what
man,
have you been up to?
We're already done?
This is great. What have you been up to?
I tell you what's really been going on, thanks to folks like you and the Tulsa Drillers and God, who else? Oh, and I do a lot of things for veterans now too. So I've got a couple of friends in that. Garrett George is one of the main ones that got me into it. But we'll do like those softball games for veterans. We take them out, and take them out for a weekend or whatever, 3 or 4 days down to like some property in Texas, down by San Antonio, Texas. Man, let them ride horses, let them do whatever they want, just relax and try to get their minds off, what horror is, messing with them. And, of course, if they have had some injuries and, if they're in wheelchairs and stuff, we do, everybody just got together and you could tell these guys, they had something in common, and that was a bond you'll never break.
Man,
so
hey, listen.
We were just,
I'm sorry. This was truly an honor. This is truly an honor having a Mantle on this program. Thank you so much, David.
Hey, please do me a favor. When you get bored or something again, call me again, and we'll do it again.
Yeah, we got to do a part 2.
We got a lot more to talk about.
You got it, my man. Thanks so much.
Hey, God bless you all, man. Thank you so much, sir.
You too. My pleasure. The son of Mick, David Mantle. Until next week, happy collecting to all.